One question which people keep asking me, and I don't have a very good satisfactory answer for that, is should I invest in equities? I don't have an answer for that, because I started investing in equities maybe when I was in class 12. Because I was in an environment where everybody around me was investing. Maybe they were 2 years, 3 years elder to me, 5 years elder to me. Some people were getting into the business of broking or sub-broking, as it was then called. Which means the main broker did the transactions and you were subbing for him, right? So you brought in the clients, gave it to him, and the contracts were issued by him to the sub-broker. The sub-broker issued the further contracts. So this friend of mine started his business maybe in 1979, and he said, why don't you? And I met him, and that relationship still continues. What is it? 21 plus 23, 44 years. 44th year of doing business with the same person. So I started enjoying it. I started enjoying the process. Getting the chartered accountant degree and then getting into equity research, getting into equity broking helped me. Am I in a position to say what you should do? Well, yes and no. Yes, in the sense that I have done it. I have done it reasonably well enough for me to quit what I must do maybe at the age of 39, 40. But I was enjoying my broking business also. So I'm not saying the pleasures of retiring early. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it was good fun. I did it. Does it mean you can do it now? Well, 2-3 things have changed. One is 1979 to 2023 things have changed. It was very difficult for us in 1979 to trade, but it was very easy to invest, right? Because for investing, you don't need action on a daily basis. I keep saying it's like going to war. It requires 361 days of preparation and 4 days of war. So when we transacted much lesser. Of course, we all have done that. We all have done the trading, made our losses, etc. Then realized that actually you make money in investing, not in trading. But today things have changed. In 2023, it is much easier to be a trader than being an investor. If you are an investor, and if I ask you to buy a particular stock, I don't want to name the stock, let's call it Tesla, because it is not listed in India. And I tell you that you have to buy 50 shares every month, or 5 shares every month, or 1 share every month. Don't get into the values. I'm just saying, will you have the discipline to do it? In 2020 March, could you have done it? It's very difficult. So you cannot do things based on other people's conviction. You cannot buy Tesla because I am convinced. You cannot keep on buying Tesla because I am convinced. You have to believe in it yourself, which means you have to do the research, you have to do the picking up of the stock, etc. That's not going to be very easy. So if you have to do, so a lot of people are inspired by people like Warren Buffett and say, oh, Buffett did it, Lynch did it. Please understand, there's a difference even between Lynch and Buffett. Lynch was a professional fund manager. You gave him money, he was working for Fidelity, he would take your money and invest it. He had only, his track record worth analyzing was only 13 years, because after that he quit. Largely, 13 years when he ran this fund. Whereas Buffett is not that. Buffett is a person who is a businessman. You cannot compare Buffett to Lynch. You can compare Lynch to maybe Naren Shankaran or Prashant Jain or Roshi Jain. They are managers, right? They cannot influence the outcome of companies. Whereas Buffett is more comparable to a Deepak Parekh or a Mukesh Ambani or a Uday Kotak. You are not investing in Mukesh Ambani, you are buying the shares. So there is no fund management charges. He is running a big business. The business is doing well. You feel that, oh, the Jio is going to do well, or etc, etc, etc. And then you go and invest. So there are no fund management charges. Obviously, there can't be fund management charges. You're just participating with him in his business. So that is different. So whereas a fund manager needs a lot of research, a lot of discipline, portfolio creation, all those things, and he's answerable to his team. He has a team which works with him. The team picks up 20 shares, and he then cuts down, says, no, this won't work, that won't work, that won't work. Then he picks up, then his team works on it, and then he buys. Now look at like say a professional photographer. A professional photographer takes photographs and then he dumps it on his team. Then his team says which is worth printing, which is not worth printing, how to. So that processing is there. So whereas if I am a photographer without a team, I just go click some random photographs. Of course, I'll also get good photographs. That is not really going to be a problem. But the question is, I may get 1 out of 20, which may be great, because when I am showing it off to people, I should show off only those. But in your own portfolio, if you buy 20 shares and only one is good or only two are good, very good chance that there are many fund managers who are outperforming you. The index is outperforming you. So do you need to be in direct equity? That is the question to ask. If suppose you are in direct equity and you're getting 12% return and the index is giving you 12.5, then you're not really adding value to your portfolio. Why would you want to ruin your portfolio by doing it yourself? Don't try to prove a thing to the world by hurting yourself. Don't cut your nose to spite your face, right? Is it necessary for you to do direct equity? Today the need for doing that is taken away. It is pleasurable, people can do it, people need not do it, right? Morgan Housel says, I invest in an index. Among the well-known people, let us say Pattu prefers the mutual funds. He does not. I don't think he does any great amount of direct equity. But I know long back he had bought Colgate. I don't know whether he's outperforming the index, underperforming the index. I don't follow him so with such a discipline. So for Pattu, investing in equities may not make sense. For me, it makes sense. I've been doing it for a long time. There are many people who tell you that this is the way to heaven, and that's not true. There are many ways to heaven. There are enough religions which will take you to heaven. There are enough roads which will take you to heaven. So you choose your road. Don't say, oh, Subra did this, so it works for Subra, so it will work for me. Or Pattu doesn't do it, so it won't work for me. Both are not right, right? There are people who make money in direct equities, but please understand there is a lot of discipline that is needed to make money in your portfolio. Picking one share and that doing well is very different. Today, any PSU you had picked 2 years ago, you would have made money. Any PSU you had picked 10 years ago, you would have lost money, right? So the discipline to know when to buy, what to buy is step one. Creating a portfolio is a completely different skill. That is number two. Maybe you follow an index and say, okay, this much will be my weightage and all that. That is how you do a cut, copy, paste of the index on your portfolio, and say, oh, I don't like this share, but I will buy this share which is a related industry, right? So something like that. So everybody tells you cement demand is high, so you say, okay, I'll buy building material because that is also perhaps both will go up together. But you find suddenly that cement is being used more for road construction. So maybe your correlation which you were trying to find is not true. So there are a lot of, it's a great pleasure doing it, and after a particular time there are people who will call you up and say, what do you think about this? So you start giving inputs, you start taking inputs, you develop a team of people wanting to talk to you about how to invest and when to invest, what to buy, what not to buy, etc., etc. So there is a team which you have developed. Now, if you have all that in place, direct equity makes sense. Direct equity made sense for Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. It made sense for Mr. Maheshwari, who puts up videos on investing, but it may not make sense for Pattu. So see what makes sense for you. Don't go by, oh, it worked for Peter Lynch, so it will work for me, or it works for Warren Buffett, so it will work for me. No, please understand, those are all, when I'm talking about them, they're full-time investors. So Mr. Maheshwari is a full-time investor. Pattu is not a full-time investor. So what works for Pattu may work for you, may not work for you. See what works for you. That's more important. So I don't have a single answer or a simple answer whether you should be in direct equities. It's up to you. Find out whether you have the resources to be in direct equities. If a 12-year-old boy asks me whether he should play cricket, my question is, do you have the discipline to get up every morning, play, bat? It is a lot of hard work to become a entertainment professional or a cricketing professional or an investment professional or a doctor. There are no shortcuts to any of this. So to become an equity investor, there is a lot of inputs which you require. You need to read balance sheets. You have to enjoy the process of reading balance sheets. You have to read books on how to create portfolios. All that should be in place. If you're just an amateur stock picker and you're fooling yourself into that you're a great investor, don't look at your stock tips. Occasionally everybody does well. 1 in 20 you may do well, which is terrible. or 5 and 10 you will do well, which is fantastic. So you could be anywhere in that spectrum of what returns you're getting. Monitor your portfolio returns. Don't tell yourself, oh, in March 20 I bought Indigo at 800, today it is 2400. Okay, how many shares did you buy? 100 shares. Does it change anything in your life? If you had bought a bigger chunk and if it was 10% of your portfolio, it would have an impact. If you bought 100 shares, I know one girl who was talking to me and said, oh, I listened to you, I bought Procter & Gamble, I did very well, it went from 3,000 to 13,000. So I asked her, how many shares did you buy? So she had bought 1 share and her CTC is about 40-45 lakhs. Does it change anything, right? So how much to buy, when to buy, how long to keep, when to sell? Are you happy with getting dividends? Do you want more growth? Do you want more value? Reading about all this, having the discipline to do all this, and enjoying the process. If you enjoy the process, then you will learn, because you are enjoying it. You will realize, like for a very simple thing, if you enjoy playing tennis, and you go to the tennis court and you realize you're not strong enough, and the coach tells you, look, this right shoulder of yours is not strong enough, join a gym, do these particular exercises, you will join. So going to the gym is not an end in itself for you. For you, going to a gym is because you want to strengthen your shoulder to play better tennis. So asking you to just read balance sheets is not going to happen. You are going to read balance sheets because you want to buy that companies that will improve your wealth, that will set you free. Maybe you can retire at 45 instead of retiring at 55. So see the end pleasure of doing things in a disciplined way. I've done enough videos on journaling and discipline. So do all those things. If you enjoy that process, then come into the equity markets. It's just waiting for you. Then you start saying, I will do equities as a way to manage my money. You don't want to do any of these processes, go into a mutual fund. You don't trust fund managers, go into an index fund. You don't need an advisor to go into an index fund. But if you don't have the discipline, maybe you need an investment advisor who will tell you what to do, when to do, how to do, and things like that. So see what suits you. Should you be in equity? Should you be in index funds? So see what suits you, right? What food suits you is important. I can go gaga and say this particular food is great. Oh, I can make it, and it's very good for health, and it gives you a lot of protein and good for energy. But see what suits you. Maybe it doesn't suit you. Maybe chicken breast suits you, it doesn't suit me. I'm a vegetarian, right? So for me, that's not good food. For you, it may be great food. For you, eggs may be a great food. I could say, oh, I don't eat eggs, right? Just my choice. Similarly, in investing, you see what suits you. Then you make the choice. So if you say, no, I got a lot of work, I work 12 hours a day, I need to take time out for pleasure on the weekends with my family, I don't want to be sitting and reading balance sheets and PEs and things like that, I will just put all my money in an index fund and be done with it. I don't need this money for 6, 7, 8, 10, 20 years. Therefore, this money will stay in an index fund. Whenever I need money for 6 months or 8 months later, I'll put some money into some debt fund, right? I'll do that. I will not, for me, investing is not a pleasure. So for me, that's a good route. For somebody else, it could be, I love doing it, and I'm a scientist and I work Monday to Friday on something. Saturday, Sundays, I have time. I can bring the discipline of science into my investing. So therefore, I will pick up stocks, and I will pick up 2 stocks a year. I will maybe look at 20 stocks and decide to buy 2 stocks. That is my investment process. I'll start maintaining an investment journal. If you want to go through that, that's also a great process. That's a great thing to do. If you don't want to do that, that is also a great pleasure. Everybody need not cook to be able to eat good food, right? You can just pick up the phone and say, hello Zomato, can you send me this food? I'll pay for it. That's it. It's done. You'll have that pleasure of doing it. Somebody else may have the pleasure of saying, no, I need to make this particular item. I will go to YouTube. I will learn how to make it. I'll fail a couple of times and then start making it. The advantage with cooking is in half an hour or 15 minutes, the kitchen tells you, look, you're indisciplined, you don't know how to make, and so please don't burn food, and etc, etc, etc. So stay away from the kitchen. Unfortunately, in the investment process, it could take 20-30 years for you to realize that you've done really bad, and you have, instead of retiring early, you're going to retire later, or maybe not retire at all. So see what you're doing, see what suits you, see your disciplines, start maintaining a journal, build all the discipline into your life, and please understand all disciplines work at the work in as a package. What time you sleep, what food you eat, whether you go to the gym, how you're investing. Try fixing each one separately, and then your life takes a good turn. And then decide that yes, I will be in direct equity because I have these achievements, I've written down this journal, this is what I did, this is how my mock portfolio looks. Then